Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Octave11. My name's Jojo, and today we welcome back Marg Murphy, astrologer extraordinaire. And today she's going to be talking with us about Black Moon Lilith, one of our favourites. So take it away, Marg.
Hi, Jojo. Thank you. I'll hold it up. I'll just show everyone the symbol for Black Moon Lilith. So you might want to find her in your own chart if she's marked. Not everybody not every astrologer uses Black Moon Lilith. So she's not necessarily going to be marked on your chart. But if you see that crescent moon with a cross beneath, always black, that's Black Moon Lilith. I love her. She's one of my passions. I'll put that down.
Point. The powerful point of Black Moon Lilith.
Really powerful point, and point's the important, word there, because she's not a rock. She's not a rock orbiting the sun like all of the other planets. She's not a star. She's actually a nothingness, if you like. Like there's nothing there where she is in that part of the sky, but she's a measurable point. So if we look at it through an astronomer's lens, she is, if we think about the Earth and then we think about the moon orbiting the Earth, the moon doesn't orbit the Earth in a circle. The moon orbits the Earth in an elliptical shape. Okay, so Black Moon Lilith is not a rock. She's not a star. She's not a planet. She's not a physical form. Black Moon Lilith is a mathematical point. So the astronomers actually just worked out how to calculate where Black Moon Lilith is, or where that point in space is, in about 1974. So she's kind of gaining in popularity and people's understanding of her in these last 50 years. Even though she was talked about astrologically before that, but this is the astronomy story. So she's the counterbalance to the Earth in the moon's orbit. Yeah. So people might have heard of the nodes of the moon. We've all got the south node and the north node in our chart. Similar kind of a story. The nodes of the moon are not a physical thing in the sky. They're a point, a mathematical point. So we all use the nodes and we all talk about our node, and we accept that as having a strong, real presence and impact on, archetypal impact on us. And so Black Moon Lilith is a similar story. In fact, I kind of feel like the moon, Lilith, and the nodes can all we can weave a story with those three things, because they're all part of the same little orbiting story of the moon around the Earth. Yeah. So she's there are other Liliths that people use as well. There is an asteroid called Lilith, and there is some gaseous cloud that people call Lilith. But this particular one, this mathematical point, is called Black Moon Lilith, and that's the one I work with. So, other astrologers will work with all three. I just work with Black Moon Lilith.
So why do you feel she's related to the nodes and the moon so closely in her story?
I feel like she's related closely to the... Sorry about that. I should have turned it off before I started.
Oh, good.
Because the moon's cycle around the Earth, the moon's cycle around the Earth determines where Lilith is. So where the Earth and the moon are in relation to each other have an impact on where the nodes are and where Lilith is. So they're all part of the same equation. Yeah, it's maths. They're all part of the same equation. So we're on Earth and we look up at the moon and we can see the moon, but we know where Lilith is, Black Moon Lilith is, and we know where the nodes are because we know where the moon is in relation to Earth.
Gotcha.
So that's how it works. Yeah. And so I thought we could, I really like the idea of Black Moon Lilith being a counterpoint to the earth. Like if we move into the astrology of it, what is that? That's kind of like the shadow point. And so Carl Jung actually referred to that point in space as the collective shadow. So he was an astrologer. So when he's talking about the collective shadow in terms of where is it located, he's talking about Black Moon Lilith. Yeah. So I feel like she is a representative of the collective shadow, but of course she's a representative of our own personal shadow as well. Yeah.
So
And
what's she
this is
showing
what
us is in the collective unconscious at the
um
moment. What's the energy?
well,
I won't
at the
even get to that when
moment,
you're ready.
yeah. I'll just say, I just want to give a little bit more basic information first, and we'll definitely get to that. But I did show it already, but all of the symbols are made up of this crescent of soul and the cross of matter, and other symbols have also got the circle of spirit. So soul and earth, embodying the soul, because that's how it is. We're on planet Earth. So that's what this cross said. You see this in most of the glyphs that we use. Yeah. So I really like that as well. I just like that she's bringing the soul down to the earth, into the earth. Yeah, I like that. She, because she's just a kind of a area of the sky where there is nothing else. It's a place of dark matter. I thought that was really interesting. I like going and reading a bit of quantum physics every now and then and seeing how it connects with the metaphysical world. And, scientists, quantum physicists have now decided that more than 95% of the universe is dark matter. And matter, the root of the word matter is from the Latin mater, so it's dark mother. And everything that we know, feel, touch, see, sense, comes from dark matter. So if we kind of overlay that scientific story into a kind of an archetypal mythological story, we come up with the dark mother. And we have to, and when we use the word dark, it's often comes with other connotations,
Is that where
dark and light.
the Black Madonna connotation would stem from?
Yes, yeah. So the Black Madonna is very much the Christian symbol of Black Moon Lilith. Yeah. So she's in every culture. So you're right, and very much the Black Madonna, is very strong in South America and in Eastern Europe. Yeah. And then we see the Virgin Mary,
She took over.
the white. Yeah. So she was imposed. Yeah. So, through all cultures, there's a dark mother figure. So Kali or Durga in Hindu, the wrathful Taras in Buddhism, the Morrigan or Mab in the Celtic. I don't know all the stories, but I know that she's there because that's what an archetype is. It's a thread that runs through all cultures and appears and might act differently or be named differently or be visualized differently, but it's all coming from the same place. So I see Black Moon Lilith as an incredibly powerful point in our chart. And she tells a really strong story. And there's another really interesting thing about her before we get to the specifics of what she's up to right now, is that in 1974, when the scientists worked out how to calculate that part of the sky, they realised that that I'll call, that Lilith was moving in a very erratic fashion. So she goes forward, she appears to come back, she's forward, back, very, very frequently. And so rather than deal with that astronomically in that way, they made it easier to grasp by averaging the movement over a year. So there's two calculations. If you've got an astrology program or an ephemeris for Lilith, then you'll always see two calculations, mean and true. Mean is the mathematical word for average. You'll see that in an ephemeris when you look up the nodes as well. You'll see mean or true node. I don't understand why we would bother with the average. I think we should just go for truth.
Bang on the truth.
Yeah. So I just don't hold any, it's my own personal thing. I don't look at the mean Lilith at all. I don't look at the mean node at all. I just always work with the true node and the true Lilith. The true node is never that far away from the mean node. They're not that far away from each, in maths. But the Lilith mean and the Lilith true can at times be a whole signs different. They can be 30 degrees away from each other. And so with the mean node starts at 0 of a sign, she's in Gemini at the moment. So she started in Gemini at 0 and just over 9 months moves forward till 9 months later, it's in 0 of the next sign, in this case, Cancer. So there's no retrograde motion. It's just a 9-month forward journey. And that's the mean. But the true Lilith can take 18 months to get through, to be finished with Gemini. She'll start off moving into Gemini, and then she'll move backwards into Taurus.
More
she'll
erratic.
shoot up as, yes, much more.
Which makes much more sense to me than the consistent movement of someone who's called Black Moon Lilith. Like, to have that erratic,
Yeah.
I'd call it crazy, but yeah.
Well,
what was the word?
let's not put negative connotations
No,
onto
no.
the word erratic.
That's right.
A word erratic is kind of seen in that way, like you need to be centered, you need to be averaged out. We don't like extremes, so we average it out. But my other way of looking at it is that to impose that averageness onto her, and watching her just walk in a straight, around the arc of the sky for 9 months, and then just keep moving forward, that to me feels like a really masculine way of being.
Well,
Okay,
it really
the masculine
dilutes the
energy.
potency, isn't it, of the
Yeah,
erratic
I feel like, and this is
energy.
not to judge masculine or feminine either, but masculine energy comes out and moves forward. Feminine energy is much more like the true node. We move forward, we integrate and move back. We process, we ruminate, we have a tantrum, we don't, and then we move forward again with when it's kind of been settled somewhere within us. We move forward, and we might take a few steps beyond the degree that we were at last week, and then we'll come back again, and then we'll go forward and backwards like that. And she's doing that now. She's doing that between Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. Okay, so mainly she's in Gemini at the moment. True Black Moon Lilith is mainly in Gemini. So what does that mean? I think that's, that's what we want to get to, the juiciness of what does it mean to be going from Taurus to Gemini to Taurus to Gemini to Cancer to Gemini, and then leaving Taurus and then dancing between Gemini and Cancer for the next 9-12 months. Yeah? What does that mean? Well, I thought it was really interesting. Taurus has got Uranus in it at the moment, and it's an earth sign. And Gemini is an air sign. We kind of had a bit of a chat around the elements last time. So, and the other thing that's interesting is that while she's been in Gemini, the North Node in the sky has been in Gemini. So collectively, we're all on a quest to embrace Gemini energy. And with Lilith there, we're going to see the shadow of it as well. So, I think of Gemini as really chatty, very curious, really interested in lots of ideas and sharing the ideas with lots of people. And so when Lilith is moving through that sign, we've got to look really carefully at the ideas that we're feeling into, or that we're hearing about, and the ideas that we're spreading and sharing. And where are the ideas coming from? From our shadow, or from our heart, having accepted and worked through some of our own shadow materials?
It's really indicative too, isn't it, of the information coming through right now. It's thick and fast, and yeah, you've got to weigh it all up. That's very Gemini, isn't it, too? The information
Oh, all the
influx.
news, the mass media.
Mm.
The mass media. I've been thinking about it in terms of all of these, the big events of the world, and thinking, in a way, the mass media is our shadow, isn't it? Like, in this day and age, there is
Lies, lies,
so,
lies.
yeah, there is so much information out there, and so many ways to source information. It's not just, bumping into someone at the market. It's everywhere now.
Yes.
Phone, TV, computer, billboards, newspapers, radio. It's mass media, and it's got more and more and more mass, hasn't it? So Lilith is our collective shadow can be found in that murkiness of information. And whether what is shadow? Like, there's so much fear around, and I think that that it's hard to resist falling into the fear, because the collective fear, because we all have our own personal fears that might not be necessarily coming from a collective movement or a collective disease, or whatever's out there. But fear is fear, so it latches on. But Lilith is saying to us, you need to look very, very carefully. Like the Lilith archetype, the Lilith imagery is, where are you prepared to compromise, and where are you not? And Lilith is encouraging us not to compromise if we really believe that is going against our own sense of authenticity and integrity.
Well,
that's different for different people. Yeah, and the other thing that Lilith is really known for in the symbolic and archetypal way is exile and taboo. And there's a lot of that going on at the moment, isn't there? So Lilith, in the Judeo-Christian story, she exiled herself. She exiled herself from paradise rather than compromise her integrity.
That's a fascinating archetype to be really prominent right now, isn't it? Because
isn't it?
You either choose to follow the narrative at the moment, or you don't, and that's the energy.
Yeah. And some groups of people, depending on the choices that they're making, are being exiled by other groups of people or powers that be, and then others are willingly exiling themselves and breaking, the taboos of the norm of the day. So I guess the message is she's still not completely finished with Earth, Jojo. And that happens by mid-November. I think, let's say the end of November, just to be sure. So she's in Gemini today. She's actually about 15 degrees of Gemini right now. The middle,
That could be
right in
my
the
sun.
middle. Yep, on your sun and my vertex. And she's going back into Taurus, but for the last time. So she's giving us this one last moment of pause to step back into the earth, into the earth sign. I feel like earth signs are about pause, It's like sit down on the ground and take a moment and gain the strength from the earth.
Well, it's a bit like the Didiria you were talking about last time too, like that real um, to sit and observe, to listen deeply, was it?
Yes, yeah, listen deeply. Yeah, Dadiri.
Mm.
Listen deeply. Have another conscious moment um, through November of really connecting with the earth and recognizing what you've gained from that and how it can really restore and renew you before we start moving on and being more and more into Gemini, the world of ideas, because that can get chaotic. That can be
Gemini is
overwhelming.
also mutable, isn't it? So it's unconstrained. It's like a whirling.
It's unconstrained and it's adaptable.
Mm.
So we have to be, it's not fixed. So, if we hear this theory today and think, well, that really makes sense to me, I might, I'm going to look at that. I'm going to feel into that. And then the next day, week, moment, there's a completely different idea out there. Gemini can adapt. Gemini can look and think, okay, well, there were a few things about that first idea that niggled me. Now this is different. I can cope with the change, but I'm not sure if I'm really at one with it. There's always adapting and shifting and changing and more information coming and other information leaving with Gemini. So in that way, it can be confusing. And so for all of us, with Lilith being in Gemini, it's like, what is your resistance to this new information? How open are you? How informed are you really? Are you just connecting with the masses because that's what is overwhelmingly out there? Or can you dig deep into yourself beyond fear? Air signs can have all of that, agitation, anxiety, fear, beyond fear, and remember what it was like in the earth. Preparing ourselves for when it steps into Cancer in a month or so. And we have to really look into our own sense of belonging and where it is that we belong. Have we sifted through all that information? Have we worked out where we belong or what feels right and belongs with us and what doesn't? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially being a Gemini.
Yes. I'll grand air try me.
Yeah. What
Lots
do
of
you
info.
think?
Well, yeah, I think it's really important to, as you said, to be able to take in all the information and then maybe moving into the Cancer of how it feels, but adapt with the information. Be willing to be wrong. Be willing to take on new stuff. Pick and choose and change and adopt and discard. Um, yeah, that's an important skill, especially right now, isn't it? To really be able to change your mind. There's information coming in all the time that's new and scientific and yeah, from different experts and
Otherwise,
whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, it's important to be able to just constantly sift through and
Yeah, it
be
really
willing
is.
to adapt. I think that's one of the biggest signs of
And to
intelligence.
really track,
Rather than stick with a narrative and stay with it and hold on to it tight, like it's always changing. It's always Yeah.
It's always changing. And you're right. We have to be able to listen and filter, because it's always going to have to sit right deep within us. The words sound easy. The actual practice of doing this is really challenging. And you know, you might, depending on where Lilith is in your own chart and what she's activating by transit in your chart, has an impact on how you're, you know, managing these feelings of exile and lockdown and freedom and yeah, taboos.
Control.
Yeah. So, you know, and another day we could be looking at where Lilith is in people's charts, you know. But for all of us, she's still got a final touch in Taurus, and then she's moving through Gemini and Cancer. So very important to look at where Gemini and Cancer are in your own chart, because when we're doing work, you know, talking like this, we can really only speak on a very general level, but that makes it much more personal. But she's out there and she's trying to get us to understand, you know, like if we work closely with her, we recognize that a lot of the mass media is shadow information, that the mass media is manipulating the masses with messages that may or may not be true. What's the agenda?
Well, it has
What's
been.
the agenda? And Lilith is saying, try always to dig down, and get to the truth.
It's been said that, you know, this time we're in an info war, you know, so it's important to pay attention to all the info and be able to adapt and move and change with it rather than, yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of mainstream media in the slightest.
No, neither am I.
Fake
And
news.
I haven't been for many years, but sometimes I deliberately, you know, choose to go and watch it or read it to find out what my mother might be believing, for example, or, you know, what people out there are taking in. Yeah, but really to be looking very carefully at the truth. If you can find it, it's really hard to find that. And that might be a tricky Gemini thing as well. It's going to be really interesting what happens when Lilith moves into Cancer, which is about nurturing and feeling and, you know, emotional sense of belonging. When she does that, the nodes that we also, you know, mentioned before were been in Gemini while Lilith's been in Gemini, that north node is going to move back into Taurus. So we're still getting this Taurus, Gemini, Cancer kind of vibe to be looking at. So if the north node, when Lilith is finished with Taurus, the north node will be in Taurus. So we collectively are still trying to reconnect with all of that Taurian energy that she's prepared us for, and she's going to be bringing the Cancer energy in. So there's going to be a Taurus Cancer vibe that Lilith connects for us. So we're still back to how do we nurture the earth? And if we can't nurture the earth, we can't nurture ourselves. If we're not nurturing the planet, we're not nurturing the masses. So we can't forget our connection to earth. And then we've got to bring in, through Lilith's guidance, bring in the nurturing Cancerian energy to the earth and then to ourselves, or at the same time with ourselves, finding where we belong. It'll be interesting to see, Jojo, how the mass media narrative changes when Lilith has moved out of Gemini and the North Node's moved out of Gemini. It'll be really interesting to see how it shifts.
It'd be nice if it softens a little bit and it becomes a little bit more nurturing.
It would be lovely. And it will be if we all as individuals can embrace that. Earth and water. Earth and water are the feminine signs. Black moon Lilith is the divine feminine, the original creatrix. So we collectively can change the story if we work on ourselves.
And our
Kind
own
of always
shadows, like embracing the
on
shadow.
ourself and our shadow.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so, and that's challenging, confronting work to do. But it's always valuable and it always is worth it. Yeah. So Black Moon Lilith, woo, big story for everyone to look at. And, you know, Black Moon Lilith is just as present in a male, you know, a masculine chart, a male chart or a female's chart or a binary chart or whatever label you want to have. Black Moon Lilith is there. She is beneath everything. That's my interpretation.
We're also coming into Scorpio. We've just come into Scorpio season, haven't we? Which is also
Yes.
transformation, death, shadow work.
Yeah.
So collectively, there'll be a fair bit of that going on. So Marg, just touching on the shadow work, how would you, like some people might be there wondering, how do I access that? How do I access the deeper, darker sides of oneself to be able to bring it to the surface and look at it and work through some of the deeper, darker bits?
Well, if we're talking about working on it ourselves, with ourselves, because, you know, there's avenues out there. People see psychotherapists, psychologists, tarot readers, astrologers, whatever, Reiki, kinesiology. There's many, many ways. But if we're just talking about I myself, you know, here at home, it's about tuning in very, very closely to how you're feeling in any particular moment and trying to navigate back to what triggered that feeling. Yeah.
And really
so
sitting with the uncomfortable feelings rather than pushing them away. Like
absolutely. Trying to, all right, I'm feeling really anxious and that's really uncomfortable. Don't have to go and have a coffee or a tea or, you know, a pill. How do I feel? All right, why do I feel like this? When did it start? What triggered it? When have I felt like that before? And then even trying to go back to the first time that you can remember feeling that or be in that state.
And as you said too before, Marg, the importance of, you know, perhaps, you know, when you're accessing or looking into some of that work, to be able to connect outside, to connect on the land, on the earth, to have that baseline support from the universe or from nature, to sit in that and not not be in fear in that moment. You know, yes, it's uncomfortable, but not to fear, by feeling that deep connection with the earth you're sitting on, to be supported by that energy.
That's always there. And, you know, that's always there, always available, always free. And that's how we connect soul to earth. Back to that. Go and sit there. Go and sit on the earth. Go and walk bare feet. You know, sometimes you're so agitated and your moods are so, you know, it's so extreme that you don't even have that thought. You know, you don't even think to do that because you're so caught up in it. And there are moments like that, and we all have moments like that. Once you've come through it and you've got enough awareness to realise, I'm not feeling that anymore, then you can still go and do all that reflecting. Shadow work's about really finding out where it started from and how it was a pattern of behaviour that you created. And you created it for survival. But it's not necessarily something that you still need for survival now, at whatever age you are now, whatever situation you're in. And they become just such ingrained patterns of behaviour that they're habitual. The shadow is understanding, doing the shadow work is understanding the habitual nature of those things and where they've come from, and owning them, recognising, I've done bad things. I have done things that have caused harm to other people. not just to myself, and owning that, and then, you know, stepping forward with Lilith into the next sign and looking at that, and then coming back and integrating. No one, you know, we're gonna mess up again. We're gonna cause harm to ourselves and others again, not necessarily intentionally, but stepping back then and think, okay, why, how, where did it come from?
And trying to
That's Lilith.
nurture that child that was
And to
traumatized.
nurture, yeah, because it's all about the inner child, isn't it, in that way? It's all about patterns that we've laid down through our childhood, and to go back and to recognise that just because something happened, you know, for me 65 years ago, doesn't mean I can't be working on that now, and really letting it go and really changing that behaviour. And I think Black Moon Lilith is, well, she guides me, and I think, you know, all of the stories in the sky can act as guides for all of us. Just we chose this one today. But yeah, they're all guiding stories, and it's what we do as people. We made up these stories. We want to give meaning to everything, and that always means looking deeper, looking at what lies beneath. That's a good way to end, I think, with Lilith. What lies beneath?
Yeah, it's good to look under things, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not just on the
Yeah.
surface of things. There's
Yeah.
always things more deeply at play.
Yeah. And
Oh,
I'm just going to check. I'm just going to check right now the chart and see where she is in this moment. Oh, sorry. In this moment, what's the time? Doesn't really matter what the time is for
1:23.
yes. And she is she's still at 15 degrees of Gemini, and she's moving forward. And just as an example, she will be moving backwards or moving into a retrograde motion on Thursday. And then she'll move, and then she'll start moving forwards again on, she's going to get right back into Taurus, and then she'll be back into Gemini.
Oh, that's really
middle of November.
That's really
Yeah.
rubbing up against
So
all
she's,
my Gemini business.
yeah, she's going to go back through all the early degrees of Gemini, back to the middle of Taurus, and through again. And by middle of November, she's back into Gemini, and it won't be back to Taurus for, 9 years or so. So this is it. This is an opportunity, and she's paving the way with that ending in Taurus. She's paving the way for the nodes to be in there. They'll be in Taurus, but the North Node will be in Taurus then. So they're having a little chat about the quest that we're all on, and then she's moving on. Yeah.
Fantastic. Good on you, Marg.
Okay, Black Moon Lilith.
Yeah, check her out
Thanks,
in your chart,
Jojo.
people. And yeah, if you have any questions,
Check out
get in
Black Moon
contact with
Lilith.
Marg
Yeah.
or check her out. Indeed. Thanks so much, Marg.
Yeah.
Always an honour and a pleasure.
Thanks, Jojo.
All right.
See ya.
Take care.
Put her up there. Yay!
Yay, Black Moon Lilith. We love you.